Hi, this is John Pettigrew, and you're listening to Talking Through My Hat, a podcast that explores bookish businesses, the fantastic people who create them, and what those people have learned. I'm a hat wearer, a recovering editor, and the creator of Futureproofs, enabling editors and authors to work better online. To find out more, visit wearefutureproofs.com or follow me on Twitter at John_Pettigrew. Welcome to Talking Through My Hat on a gloriously sunny and warm spring morning. It's still April as I record this podcast, and I hope the weather's as good where and when you're listening to it. Today, I'm talking to Ken Jones, founder and director at Circular Software, where he develops a business by developing applications like CircularFLO to create beautiful fixed layout ebooks, and GreenLight to help publishers ensure their files are ready for print with workflow-specific enforceable checklists. He works with publishers like Hachette, Thames and Hudson, and Nosy Crow. So welcome to Talking Through My Hat, Ken.
Hello, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
So you weren't originally, I was actually surprised to see, a software developer. That's how I think of you. So how did you come to set up a software business?
Well, perhaps, it's a strange route in, I suppose most software companies are started by software developers or people, from a technical background. I've always had a technical background, but from print and print production. Mm-hmm. So I actually started off in print. My parents were small printers.
Oh, right.
And
okay.
from a small boy, I was taught the ways of ink and fonts and paper and that sort of thing. And actually have made plates and run printing presses, etc. So that's always been there as an interest. And then as I moved into the world of Mac and computers and Quark Express, as it was in those days, I became more and more sort of interested in how to get the computers to do things quickly and well, and how people should use them in the best way, which led me to be a trainer. So I became a software trainer, and actually that's where I moved from the Midlands down south to find my fortune, and joined one of those .com startups of the early 2000s that everyone was going to be immensely rich, and the company went from like 20 up to 150 and back down to 20 in the couple of years that I was there. It was quite good fun. And then through that, I became a trainer. So I'm a software trainer, and then finally sort of moved into actually scripting and programming of computers, and that's where I really found something that I really wanted to do and to continue to do. So. Right.
So what was it that led to Circular Software itself then? You deciding to actually, I'm going to do this to set up this business?
Yes. Well, I suppose it's frustration, and
I can relate.
I was the technical production manager and the in-house trainer for 10 years at Penguin. So Penguin and Dawn and Kindersley, great company, lots of nice people. But when you get to a company which are literally the biggest publishing company in the world, there's only one move to make, and that's to go back small. And that's something that I always knew I wanted to do, because it gets rid of the frustration of the lack of speed, or I can't stop having great ideas. But when you're sitting, someone's just telling you we can't do that. That is a good idea, but we're never going to do it. That's eventually gets you sort of, it can grind you down.
Yeah, that conservatism of the big organisation. Yeah.
So I always knew that I enjoyed my time there, but I knew I was going to do something, and I actually registered the website and the name for the company before I knew what it was going to actually be. So Circular Software was just a good name, I thought. So I thought I'll be that. And only when I saw the sort of opportunity of the iPad and what could be done with illustrated publishing, which has always been my sort of major interest, then that's where I decided to make the leap into fixed layout ebooks.
And that's
where it started off, yeah.
And that led to CircularFLO, I guess, which was the first self-named really kind of product there.
Well, that's right, yeah. It was a one-product company for many years, but it was always CircularFLO from Circular Software, because I knew that, there's other things that I do. I offer consultancy and training and things around that. It's not just a one-trick pony sort of thing. But, that was the success, really. That has been used by lots of major and self-publishers as well to make over 2,000 beautiful ebooks have been made using CircularFLO.
Excellent.
It's been good.
That's good.
It's still going.
Well, it's always a good measure of success for a business if you're still there.
Yes, that's right. It's something.
So it's interesting because having started off, as you say, with the launch of the iPad as a stimulus and getting into ebooks and particularly illustrated ebooks, which is a tricky thing. Kind of what you've been doing is almost kind of at the heart of change in the publishing industry in terms of product and the ways that we build it. And that's always something that really interests me. It's not always just about the output. It's how do you get there?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think that helps you to be at that kind of intersection of all these different things, that heart, or are some publishers still afraid of exploring that uncertainty?
Oh, yes. I think publishers are timid beasts mainly. They have to be guided or led to try something, and I've realised one of the things I've learned is that don't try too much or don't try to do something that's too extravagant. So, for instance, there's lots of interactivity and video and audio, etc., that you can put into ebooks, which makes them, more than a printed page. But actually, if all that the publisher wants is a flat sort of print replica that they can quickly sell on Amazon, then it's a little bit disappointing. But the customer is always right, as they say. So let's make that as easy as possible. Yeah. And in terms of the way that files are being made, that comes back from my training and my production background. Yeah. I reckon I can advise the best way to make good working files that are future-proof, to use a word, that as much as possible, and rather than just training people to do it, to have a software product that actually mixes in training with actual checking. That's been quite good. So that's what our GreenLight tool does. Yeah,
it kind of intrigues me that the industry had such hopes for enhanced ebooks and illustrated content and stuff, and it hasn't really happened. And I don't know, I mean, the kind of publishers you work with, it kind of always intrigued me that the ones who are always leaping at this, enhanced ebooks, are kind of novel publishers who would say, oh yes, we're going to put interviews with the author in video format in the book. And it turned out no one wanted that as a reader. If you buy a novel, you want a novel. The interview with the author is interesting, but that belongs on YouTube, kind of thing. Yeah. But a lot of publishers produce stuff that would be awesome with video and interactive stuff, like educational material, cookbook material, all this kind of stuff. I mean, with something like CircularFLO, you could do some really interesting and exciting stuff. But where do you find, as you say, sometimes customers are very timid?
Yeah. Well, also they're companies and they're commercial, and they need to they need to think that there's going to be a reason to do something. Yeah. So there's a nice quite small Canadian publisher that use CircularFLO to do read aloud books. They're called Kids Can Press, and they do really nice books, and they've got this extra sort of read along bit, and they use our software to do that. But they're quite rare, really. The larger publishers are just, they don't want to do it, and that's partly the blame is I can put squarely with Amazon, because Amazon have got a very poor format, and they don't support any of this interaction. So you're talking with a publisher and they're saying, oh, that's quite interesting, we could do something there, and how do we get that to Amazon? And then you say, well, you can't. And then they say, well, there's a lowest common denominator of what is actually what's the best thing we could make for the worst format? And there's not a lot really. But I think the future is bright. There is hope still. I think the EPUB standard is a great standard, and the fact that you can do stuff that I don't know if we can put a link into Galdo's Gift, which is sort of a really good advert to a book I was worked with Tapocketa. It's got all sorts of animation and beautiful loop videos. It's got interaction. It's got personalization in iBooks on the iPad. It's really great, like I said, for what the format could do. Yeah. And I do some training on ebooks, and it's quite good. The stuff that's still to come. I think ebooks aren't done yet. They're sort of, the first effort, and reflowable ebook of a novel is great, and it's portable, and that's about all you need. But if you just want something to be a bit more than that and to look better than a Word document from the 80s, then there is something that you can actually the EPUB 3 format and what it's going to turn into in the future, and be supported on readers that are universal and have DRM built in. There's lots of potential in that yet to come.
Yeah, I think EPUB, some of the ways that EPUB is going is really interesting. I think it's going to be, particularly for me at least, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with the PWA, the portable web app spec. Which is going to allow websites to be parceled up effectively as a container, as an ebook almost. And the kinds of stuff that people are talking about doing there, because they're coming at it from, I'm Twitter, how do I make it a PWA? Or something. It's going to be really where those crossovers, I think you're right, there's going to be some really interesting possibilities, and how we get, the publishing industry to that point, to those possibilities. But as you say, we're limited by distribution. If you have to sell it through Amazon on their device that owns 90% of the market, you're a bit limited commercially, and it's about connecting those two things, really, isn't it? It's always connecting the commercial with the excitement of innovation and possibility. Yes,
I think I'm a great fan of music, and I think the ebook is probably sort of at the point of like the mini disc. It was it's a quite good until something better came along. And it's not the whole discoverability and secure transmission of books there's a lot of potential that publishers or other people could sell directly, and there will be no need to have a big Goliath of a company sitting in the way as they turn into delivering lawnmowers by drones or whatever Amazon actually really want to do. They're not interested in books.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's drill a little bit into that. Which, as you say, it's really important for the publishing businesses to sell their product, and it's kind of important for kind of people who run small businesses to do the same. So how did you go about learning to run your own business when you actually set out as Circular Software, and now for that matter?
Well, you do learn as you go along. I'm quite interested in branding and marketing and displaying, making a product that has a value and a I try. There's not. I haven't got a massive marketing budget, but
that's the challenge, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah, but what I do, I think it works quite well, and it looks quite good, and it's it has a people understand it. I think that's the trick, is to make something that actually is a product. And that's one of the things I've learned is don't go in with too many ideas. Just go in with, this is a product that you can actually use, and it does this sort of thing. You have to boil it down. Was that a question?
Well, it's definitely part of it. That how do you make people aware of you? How do you create something they want, or persuade them that they want what you've created? It kind of works both ways around, doesn't it?
It's a tricky one, and so having something that really, I think with CircularFLO, it was something that it solved a problem. And this was like 3 or 4 years before InDesign had the ability to make fixed layout ebooks. There was a product that you could, at a click, make something that solved that problem. That was the success of it. So as we get into more, wouldn't it be good if your files were created in a correct and consistent way? That's a harder sell, because there's not without, you need to put a price on it, or you need to give them a proper return on investment, all of those things that, to prove that it's worth doing.
I think it's always a thing. I always find it's easier to sell to people who know they have a problem, and that you can then say, well, here's the answer to that problem. So if you've got a company that's saying, oh, well, we keep having to spend extra money because we send files to the printers and they can't use them.
Yes.
Then you can go, well, I have a problem called GreenLight that solves this. But if they're going, oh, well, it seems to be fine, we've never really noticed anything. If you have to persuade them there's a problem, then it's going to be a harder task.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the people who know there's a problem aren't the people who buy software. And that's and also the people who say there isn't a problem aren't the people who are actually doing the work to realise that there is a problem. So it's you have to be careful not to say, well, you don't actually know your own business. But
the customer and the user are often very different people, aren't they?
That's it. Yeah, yeah. The person buying it needs to have someone senior enough to be, trusted within their company to advise them, and to maybe be small enough to take that advice without having to go through multiple board levels and I don't know, US parent companies, etc.
Do you find that small companies are more able to be innovative in workflow then, do you reckon? It is because of that, they don't have 43 levels of communication before they can make any decisions? Or
I think so. Well, Corto aren't really small, but they're not, one of the biggest publishers, and they've taken GreenLight as an improvement to push out to all of their freelancers and all of their internal staff in the UK. They can actually get the benefits of making their files in a much more streamlined, quick, and useful way. And I just spoke to the right person at the right time, and
that's always a key, isn't it?
That is it. And then that is actually a great thing that we should have. So that's the challenge, I suppose.
Yeah. So if you've been running a business for the past, well, blimey, what is it now? 9 years? Circular software?
Yeah, I'd say 7 years.
7 years? 7 years.
Yeah.
A while, anyway, certainly. What have you learned about yourself in that time? Do you think of yourself in the same way that you did when you were kind of enmeshed in Penguin?
Yeah, I think I'm probably the same person inside. I've always been really motivated, and I want to do stuff. I want to get stuff done. The whole office culture and commuting to sit at a particular desk and pay thousands of pounds for that, not even to sit on a train, to stand on a train, it's so much inefficiency in large companies that I'm just so much happier doing, working in a smaller way, but then still going into to work with these large companies.
Yeah.
So I've learned, you've got to have a lot of energy, and you've got also, I think there are definitely things that I don't like doing, and I have to sort of plan that I'm going to do them on a certain time and make myself do them. I put them off, and I think that's fine to do that, but you also have to face up to them at some
point. HMRC is going to come calling.
That's the tax thing. It's not simple, and you have to think about those sort of things.
Yeah. So what is it that you find hardest then? What are the tasks that you personally are most prone to putting off?
Definitely the finance thing. I even don't send out invoices, which is a really bad thing to admit to, until they get sizable, and then I think I'll send one out now. But that sort of thing. And also, I'm very happy talking to people either about something that I think they're interested in, or if it's somebody I know. But it's the whole, how do I talk to someone I don't know? I don't like that whole.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone
outbound
does, really.
Sales.
I know I should be doing more of that, and I just shy away from it, and because I'm much happier developing the next big thing that I'm excited about.
Like I can relate to that. I mean, it's interesting talking to people for this podcast. There's definitely a division. There's slightly artificial division between extroverts and introverts, but there is a definite. Some people, it's all about the going out and talking to people. That's where they get, they love it. Other people, it's I'll do it, but I do it because I have to.
Yeah, well, I'm a strange one, I think, because I'm an introverted show off, I think. I love if I'm doing training or something, that's great. I'm not fazed by talking to crowds or large groups of, and I'm quite happy to speak at events and things like that. But also, I'm quite happy this week. I've got no meetings, so I'm doing things like this, but I'm also doing some programming or catching up from the book fair or doing that sort of thing. That's very, very insular, and I'm quite happy not talking to anyone apart from you, John. Of course.
Well, thank you very much. It's great. Okay, so I mean, why that? You've got the bits you enjoy and the bits you don't enjoy all mixed up together. I suppose in a sense it's like working for a big company. It's just a different set of good bits and bad bits. But why do you keep doing it?
Well, the frustration, I suppose, is not there. I can only get frustrated at myself or frustrated at in things that I think aren't happening. But really, I love it. So I'm really happy doing it. I think I'm very lucky that I've been able to make something that I'm interested in into a successful business. And I just, I've got a great lifestyle. I really value being, around. We've got small children, and I like to see them in the mornings and the evenings. And
Yeah.
and I, if I was working in London, I would not be doing that. So that is definitely a personal sort of positive of working in this way. And some people think that if you're working from home, then you're slacking, or you're sitting around in your pants watching Cash in the Attic or something. But
Well, then you're not working,
I think
are you? Oh.
I think it's the other way around for me. I'm quite happy to put in long hours, or I work at nights sometimes, or it's very flexible, and I can just, it just really suits my way of thinking and working, and actually I have to make myself switch things off rather than the other way around.
Yeah. So do you have a home office? Do you have a regular place that you've set aside for work, or do you go out and work in coffee shops, or mix it up a bit?
Or wherever the laptop is, yeah. So I quite like a little train journey, because it's an hour and 10 into London, and that's like a little bit of concentrated effort there and back.
And it's, when you don't have to do that at rush hour, it makes a huge difference, doesn't it? You can actually be productive.
Yeah, exactly. I always try and make my meetings sort of afternoon, and then you can really get into that. But I like getting up early, and I'll do a couple of hours before everyone gets up, or like say
morning person.
Well, basically any of the 24 hours, I confidently say I've been working on circular software at some point. But yeah, I have a small garden sort of office, but also I work in wherever I am.
But you've got that area where you can lock yourself away, a sense, from. Although I was when my kids were young, I was freelancing, so I was working from home as well. But I found I needed a space where I was not available for small people to come and harass me.
Well, that's it. Now they're 6 and 5 now, and now they're at school, so it's a lot easier. I don't have to go and shut myself away because they're not here, and I miss the little fellas when they're not here, but no, I'll see them later. It's okay.
Yeah, that's good. So when you think about the next 5 years of circular software, do you try and make plans to make sure the business is still around, or are you more responding to what people come to you with?
Well, I'm definitely not responding to what people come to me with. I'm more of a, I think we should do this. And because I'm in charge, I can. It's basically I'm gambling with my time to make something that I think someone else might be interested in. Okay. And sometimes I will just do things that I think are so interesting. I'm not quite sure where they're going to go, but I just still want to do them. And I've got that luxury, not all the time.
You're kind of led by your understanding of where the industry is and where it might be going. You think, actually, there's an interesting problem. I'll just have a go at that.
So yes, there's the new thing I'm working on. Master plan is it could be people who are working on books, but also when books are done, how do people search them or share them online, or how do they find them? And they could be used as sort of going back to the stuff that I've learned from creating ebooks, but using it actually as a sales or a marketing thing for print books. It's just, let's get the insides of all these beautiful books, securely exposed online, so people can actually find them and share them if they want to, and in a way that's secure. Yeah. So that's my latest idea, that no one's asked me to do it. But at the book fair, I was showing quite a few people who thought, that's brilliant. How did where did you come up with that? And it's like, I've been thinking about it for some time whilst I've been doing other things. And then it's finally sort of ready to show to the world. So
yeah, it's like letting ideas simmer away in your mind until they come out into code. And
yeah, I think about things a lot. And I try and go running quite often, and I find when I'm running, then that's when I get the most crazy sort of ideas or the most concentrated ideas, and then I sort of hurriedly scribble them down on a sweaty piece of paper as I get in the door. So I've always got loads of ideas. I've got some more things in my back pocket if I need to, but I've got 3 products I'm trying to do at the moment. I think that's enough.
Quite a lot for one person.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good idea, though, isn't it? It's that you're managing to find activity that kind of does self-care and it does business purpose as well, and that's always, that's brilliant. I've heard other people say that running is a really good way of. It's time to think, and it frees your mind because you're in a different space. And
I think it is something to do with the actual. I don't know how the brain works, but physical activity releases something, and you get into sort of the zone. Yeah. And without thinking about it. So yeah. Also, I try to keep on top of technology. So when I was at a large publisher, I realised that there was a route that if you wanted to, to succeed and progress, then you became a manager. Yeah. And managers gently drifted away from what was actually happening and came out of touch. And I wanted to never do that. I wanted to be the opposite. I wanted to be really in touch. So I'm making effort to find out. I'm actually going to Berlin next month to the Digital Publishing Summit to find out what is happening in the future of publishing. No one's really asked me, or no one's paying me to go. That's
it's interesting.
I should be there because that is what I need to know. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your time today. We'll put a link in the description of the podcast for Galdo's gift, the ebook you were talking about earlier. Brilliant. And we'll put a little bit of linkage into your products as well, because why not?
Yes, circularsoftware.com.
That's great. Well, thanks very much, Ken, and thank you everyone for listening.
Thanks, John. Bye.
Thanks again very much to Ken for that interview. One of the things I love about Ken's business is the way that he embodies the need to experiment, to change stuff. He comes from that solid print background and yet is very solidly in the digital world. And the way he connects those two things is great. He really understands what it is that is needed technically to deliver great print product and great digital product, and how some of the same principles apply to both. And I think that's really interesting and fantastic, and wish him obviously all the best. We've put some links, as I say, into the podcast description on the website. If you visit the website, please do consider signing up to our new mailing list if you want to hear about new podcast episodes as well as blog posts, industry updates and those kind of things, or indeed about future proofs. Next week, I'm interviewing Susie Asprey of Inspired Selection, so I hope you'll come back and listen to us again then. This was Talking Through My Hat, a podcast by John Pettigrew, founder of We Are Future Proofs. Please let me know your thoughts by leaving a review at Apple Podcasts or by commenting on the website, myhat.wearefutureproofs.com. You can subscribe to this channel at Apple Podcasts, Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Our theme music is from hooksounds.com.